Hello and welcome to Learn Conversational English. I'm Lua.
And I'm Benjamin. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here with us today.
This podcast is all about, well, real conversations. We just talk about life, about things that happen to us, and you get to listen and hopefully pick up some natural, everyday English along the way.
Exactly. Nothing too formal, no grammar lessons, no quizzes, just two people chatting, like you'd hear at a coffee shop or around the dinner table.
And today we're talking about something that is actually really personal to both of us: immigration, moving to a new country, why people do it, what it feels like, all of that.
Yeah, it's a topic that's close to both of our hearts, for sure.
So let's start with a bit of background. For those of you who are new to the podcast, hi, my name is Lula, and I was actually born in Greece. My family's Greek, and I grew up speaking Greek at home.
And you moved to the US when you were really young, right?
Yeah, I was 4 years old, so I honestly don't have a lot of memories of Greece from back then. I remember a few things, like I remember the smell of my grandmother's kitchen, and I remember the sound of the sea. But that's about it, really.
That's beautiful, though. Those early memories are so vivid, even when you're that young.
They really are. And growing up, my parents always made sure we stayed connected to our Greek roots, you know? We spoke Greek at home, we ate Greek food, we celebrated Greek holidays, but outside was all American.
That dual identity thing. I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to that.
For sure. And I have a younger sister who is actually born in the US, so she's fully American in a lot of ways. She doesn't have that same kind of in-between feeling that I sometimes have. It's interesting.
That's interesting. Like, even within the same family, the experience can be so different.
Completely different, yeah. She never had to go through the adjusting phase. For her, America was just home from the beginning.
Right. And for you, it was this gradual thing.
Totally gradual. Okay, so tell everyone about yourself, Benjamin, because your background is also really interesting.
Sure. So, my parents are from Scotland. They moved to the US before I was born. So, I was actually born here. I'm American, through and through in terms of where I grew up, but my parents, they have strong Scottish accents, and we have a lot of Scottish traditions at home. I grew up hearing about Scotland all the time.
Do you have a Scottish accent, like even a little?
Sometimes certain words just come out differently, especially if I'm tired or I've been on the phone with my mum for a while. She's very Scottish.
That's so funny. Accents really do rub off on you.
They do. And I have two younger brothers, both born in the US as well, and honestly, they sound nothing like me. They sound like they're from a TV show. Very, very American.
That's so relatable. My sister's the same way. She has this very polished American accent, and I sometimes tease her about it.
So let's actually get into the topic. Why do people immigrate? What makes someone leave everything they know and go somewhere completely different?
I mean, for my parents, it was largely about opportunity. Greece at the time was going through some economic difficulties, and my dad, he had this job offer in the States, and it was just too good to pass up. So they took the leap.
And they were young, right, when they moved?
They were. My mom was in her late 20s. My dad was 31 or 32, I think. And they had me, a 4-year-old, which I can't imagine, honestly. Packing up everything, leaving your family, your friends, your language, and going to a country where you barely speak the language.
That's a huge step. Like that takes real courage.
It really does. And I think about that a lot now that I'm older. I have a completely new appreciation for what they did. Because it's not easy. It sounds adventurous, but it's also really scary.
And for my parents, it was similar in some ways. My dad had a career opportunity, he was an engineer, and there were just more possibilities here. But my mom, she came because of him. And I think for her, it was harder because she left behind her whole network, her sisters, her mom, her friends from school.
That's such a common story, isn't it? One person moves for work, the other person follows, and the one who follows sometimes has a harder time because they didn't choose it in the same way.
Exactly. And my mom, she's been here for over 30 years now. She loves it, but she still misses home. She still talks about Scotland like it's the most magical place on earth.
I think that's something a lot of immigrants feel, like the place you left becomes almost idealized over time. Because you remember the good parts, but maybe not the day to day struggles that made you leave in the first place.
That's a really good point. You kind of freeze the memory of it.
Yeah, my parents do that too. Greece, in their memory, is always sunny and perfect. But when I actually went back as an adult, it was such a different experience than what I expected.
How so?
Well, I had this idea in my head that I was going home, like returning to my roots. And in some ways, I did feel a connection. I spoke the language, I knew the food, I understood the culture from my parents. But I was also clearly American, and Greek people could tell immediately.
How could they tell?
Oh, so many ways. The way I dressed, the way I moved around the city, like I was always in a hurry. Greeks take their time. Things happen more slowly, and I had this American efficiency mode that was just completely out of place sometimes.
That's funny. Like you had to relearn a different pace.
Completely. And the social customs are different too. People stay out so late, like dinner doesn't start until 9 or 10 at night. And everything is social. Everything happens over a long meal or coffee that lasts 2 hours. And I love it, but it was a real adjustment.
So you were an immigrant in the country you were actually from, in a way.
That's exactly what it felt like. And there's a word for people like me, actually. In Greek, they call it second generation immigrants, but there's also this idea of being a xenos, a foreigner, even in your own homeland. And I felt that very deeply.
That's really interesting. And why do you eventually move back to the States?
A combination of things, work opportunities, honestly, and I missed home. But here's the funny thing, I wasn't sure which home I was missing. Sometimes I'd be in Athens and miss Boston, and now that I'm back in the States, sometimes I deeply miss Athens.
The grass is always greener, as they say.
Exactly. You always want what you don't have. But I think it also means that I genuinely love both places. Both are home to me, just in different ways.
I can relate to that so much because I also moved away as an adult. I spent several years in Thailand.
Yes, let's talk about that, because that is a very different kind of move. Greece and America are relatively similar cultures in some ways. But Thailand?
Thailand is a completely different world, and I mean that in the best way possible, but it was a shock at first.
What made you decide to go?
Honestly, I was in my late 20s. I had been working in finance here, and I just felt stuck. Like I needed something different, a change of scenery. And a friend of mine had been living in Bangkok for a couple of years and kept saying, "Come visit, it's incredible." So I went for 2 weeks and I just didn't come back for 3 years.
Wow, so it wasn't even really a planned immigration. It was just you fell in love with it.
Completely unplanned. I think that's actually a really common reason people move abroad as adults. It's not always about jobs or family. Sometimes it's just this feeling of, this place feels right for where I am in life right now.
That's really interesting because for our parents' generation, immigration was usually very deliberate and economic. But for our generation, it can be more exploratory.
Much more exploratory. And I think the world being more connected now makes it easier. You can work remotely, you can stay in touch with people back home. So the sacrifice isn't as total as it was for our parents.
True, although it's still hard, right? The day to day stuff. What was the hardest part of living in Thailand for you?
The language, without question. Thai is a tonal language, which means the same word can mean completely different things depending on how you say it. And I was bad at it. I tried, I really did, but I never got to a level where I felt confident.
And that must be humbling because you're a confident person in English. But suddenly, you can't even order food without a bit of panic.
That's exactly it. And I have so much more empathy now for people who come to an English-speaking country and struggle with the language, because I know how that feels. You feel small and a bit helpless sometimes. Even simple things become challenging.
That's such an important point. And I think for our listeners who are learning English right now, that feeling is so real. But you push through it, and it gets better.
It absolutely does. And the local people in Thailand were so patient with me, so kind. I think that's one of the things that made it so wonderful. Even when I butchered the language, people would smile and help me out.
That generosity makes such a huge difference. In Greece, too, when I was struggling sometimes and people could see I was a bit lost, they were so warm. The generosity of local people when you're a stranger somewhere is just, it's really moving.
Let's talk about the cultural adjustment side of things, because it's not just a language, it's the food, the customs, the way people interact.
The food is honestly one of the biggest things, and I say that as someone who loves food.
What did you miss most food-wise when you were in Greece? That sounds like a strange question given that Greek food is amazing.
No, it's a valid question because I grew up eating American food too. So I would sometimes crave like a really good New England clam chowder or a proper American style burger. And obviously those things exist in Athens too, but it's not the same.
Food is tied to memory and comfort so much. In Thailand, I desperately miss the proper roast lamb. My mom makes this incredible roast lamb with roast potatoes, very Scottish influenced, and I would literally dream about it sometimes.
That is so relatable. And isn't it funny how food becomes this symbol for everything you miss? It's not really about the food, it's about home, family, comfort.
Completely. And when I finally did come back home and have that meal, I cried, genuinely cried. My brothers thought I was being ridiculous, but my mom understood.
Of course she understood. She knows exactly what that feeling is.
What about community? Did you find a community in Greece, Lula, or did you feel a bit isolated?
I was lucky because I had family there, cousins, some aunts and uncles, so I had a built-in social network to some extent. But building friendships from scratch as an adult it's harder than people think. When you're a kid, you make friends at school. It's kind of automatic. But as an adult in a new place, you have to be much more intentional about it.
I found that in Thailand too. The expat community there is quite large, and I did connect with other foreigners initially. But at some point, I felt like I want to actually know Thai people. I want to understand the culture from the inside.
And did you manage to do that?
I made a few really good Thai friends through work and through a cooking class, actually, which I highly recommend to anyone moving to a new country, by the way. Taking a class in something local is such a good way to meet people and connect with the culture at the same time.
That's great advice. I also found that the more I put myself out there, even when it was uncomfortable, the faster things opened up.
Let's talk a bit about identity, because I think one of the big questions for anyone who moves around a lot is, who am I? Where do I belong?
That is the question, isn't it? And I'm not sure I've fully answered it yet.
I don't think there's one answer. I think it evolves.
I think you're right. Like, for a long time, I felt like I had to choose. Am I Greek or am I American? And it was confusing because people in each place would sometimes remind me that I wasn't fully one of them. In the US, people would ask where I'm really from, and in Greece, people would tease me for being too American.
That where are you really from question, I know that one.
It can be well-meaning, but it can also feel like you're being told you don't quite fit. Like there's always an asterisk next to your identity.
And I think over time, you just make peace with the fact that you're not one thing. You're a product of multiple places and cultures, and that is actually a strength, even if it doesn't always feel that way.
Absolutely. I think being bicultural or multicultural gives you this perspective that people who've only ever lived in one place don't always have. You understand different ways of doing things. You're more flexible. You're more empathetic, hopefully.
And your understanding of language is deeper too. When you've struggled to communicate in another language, you understand communication differently. You know what it means to really work to make yourself understood.
Which brings it back to our listeners, actually. The people learning English right now are doing something that takes a lot of courage and a lot of work. And that experience will shape you in ways that go far beyond just knowing another language.
Well said. It really will.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone who is thinking about moving to a new country, what would you say, Benjamin?
One piece, that's hard. I think I would say let go of the idea that you need to have everything figured out before you go. You won't, and that's okay. The learning happens in the doing, not in the planning.
I love that. Mine would be connect with people. Not just other expats, not just people exactly like you. Make the effort to connect with local people, even when it's hard, even when there's a language barrier. Those connections are where the real experience lives.
And be patient with yourself. Moving to a new place is disorienting. There will be days when you feel completely lost. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice, it just means you're still finding your feet.
Give yourself time. Some people adjust quickly, some people take longer. There's no right timeline.
And call home. Seriously, I know it sounds obvious, but when you're feeling low, talking to someone who knows you, who loves you, who can remind you of who you are, that is invaluable.
So true. My parents' phone calls kept me going so many times when I was in Greece and feeling a bit lost.
Same. My mom's voice, there's nothing like it. Even now, even when I'm right here in the States, just hearing her on the phone makes everything feel a bit more okay.
I think we could talk about this for hours, honestly.
We really could, but we should probably wrap up for today.
We should. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. It means the world to us that you spend your time with us. We hope that today's conversation was useful for your English and maybe gave you something to think about as well.
Whether you're learning English for travel, for work, for a new life somewhere else, or just because you love languages, we are rooting for you. Every single one of you.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please like it, leave us a comment, and share it with someone who might find it helpful. It really helps us grow.
And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. There's always a new conversation coming up.
Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep speaking.
See you in the next one. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.